How's it going, guys? Cryptobud here for today for an important video on Omisego. Now, before I start on this one, there's been a lot of great things with Omisego, and everybody's really kind of talking about it. And I just felt that I think it's going to be one of the coins of the whole. Actually, I think the coin of the year, in addition to some of the other ones I've talked about. And so let's talk about Omisego, and there's a lot of things I want to share my deepest thoughts about because Omisego is one of those coins that just barely it's been around for a while, but in 2003, so it's a coin that's been really established. But the last couple of days and the last couple of weeks, I'd say, Omisego has gotten a lot of attention. And so let's go ahead and review this real quick to kind of give you my thoughts about what I think about Omisego. So Omisego is a pretty much a way to transact. It was started in 2013, and it right currently has about a 70 plus team in there. So it's a pretty large team considering the fact that it's a coin that really until recently just went ahead and started running. And one of the things that is interesting about it is that it's located in Singapore, but it's got offices all over Asia, and specifically in Japan and Thailand. And so there's a lot of great things happening with them. It's an Ethereum based currency, and what it does is that the slogan here is called unbanked the banked, and really what they're targeting is remittances and also people who don't have access to bank accounts, so specifically individuals who are marginalized in the system. And this reminds me a lot of what Stellar Lumens does in regards to trying to target a specific group of individuals, which I think is awesome because they've carved out a little niche in Asia to take a look at how we can go ahead and deal with this problem of people who don't have bank accounts. It is Ethereum based, which means that it's going to operate under the Ethereum blockchain. And one of the great things about that, as you already know, is that Ethereum allows the execution of smart contracts and basically building apps on it and things like that. So again, a very, very powerful choice for the blockchain technology. Now, in regards to what Omisego does, it really tries to solve that one problem of decentralization. So number one is you don't need a bank account to access the coins and to purchase. And the second thing is that it's got nationally licensed reserves on it. So it technically kind of almost acts like a bank, but in reality, it's still decentralized. So it has a really broad appeal for anybody who's a little bit, let's just say, worrisome about the stability of this currency. The other one is that you can actually definitely scale it, and it has instant settlement and it has low cost. So it deals with the whole issue of the cost of banking and the cost of transacting money from one point to another. And the last one, which I really love, is that it's decentralized currencies and it has what we call a decentralized fiat token custody. And so what that basically means is that they have tokens on the actual blockchain that allow it to kind of back up what they have in regards to the reserves. So I really like that idea because if you really think about it, they're kind of almost acting like a bank, but in its truest form, it is decentralized. And so I'm very excited about how this is really going to operate, especially as Omisego begins to gain some new features and functionalities. I think it's going to be a very interesting project in the coming future. All right. So let's talk about what is Omisego a little bit more in detail. So number one, it solves the fundamental problem of coordination between these different institutions. And so whenever you swipe your credit card or whenever you go to a bank or any sort of making any purchase, it has to go through a network of these operators, what I call them, very similar to what Ripple is trying to do with the banking system. Is that they have these things called payment processors, they have these things called gateways, and they've got obviously your banks and your financial institutions. So you got Visa in the mix, you've got the interchange fees between the banks, and you also have these gateways that pretty much coordinate all the flow of money back and forth. Now, currently it's all centralized, and so what Omisego tries to do is eliminate that and try to make it so it's completely decentralized, and you take the power away from the banks, you take away the power from these these payment processors, and you again reduce that fee. And one of the biggest, I think, draws for me when I'm looking at these type of coins is the remittances functionality. And as you already know, in Asia, we have a huge problem right now with developing a strong financial system. In the Western countries, that's already been established. But in Asia, you have a lot of countries right now that are struggling to establish a financial presence that's outside of China, outside of Japan. For example, I'm talking about countries like Cambodia, Indonesia, Thailand, right? Those type of countries that have historically not had a very strong financial center. And so I think that this is something to really think about, because if they get shut out of the system, they always have an alternative and an incentive to move into something like Omisego. The other one is going to be payroll deposits. And this one, a lot of people don't really think about it, but every single time you get paid from your day job or any sort of job that you get, there is an entire system in place to process that paycheck. And Omisego is trying to target this very lucrative industry that historically has been really monopolized by a few companies. And if they're able to tap into the payroll deposits, for example, if you go to work right now and you want to get paid, instead of getting paid in a regular fiat currency, in a check that you have to cash in or direct deposit or any of those items, you have your Omisego that you can automatically get paid in these Omisego tokens, and it's going to be fast and it's going to be instantaneous. And again, these are for people who don't have banks. So remember that there's a whole segment of the population in Asia that operates strictly on cash. And if you say, you know what, I have an opportunity here for you to not go to cash, to use these Omisego tokens and get paid in payroll deposits, I think it'll be great. They also have this thing called B2B commerce. So basically it's going to be a B2B commerce where you can go business to business and supply chain finance and all these other things that allow businesses to interact with one another. And Omisego is going to be right smack in the middle. Now, it's going to be ETH and BTC compatibility. And what that means is that you're going to have a situation where people are going to interact with BTC and ETH, so you're not exclusively locked into any one of these coins. And I believe they're already talking about adopting other currencies as well and allowing the market to dictate what currencies that they can trade. Now, in regards to the backing, and this is actually very important, especially when I'm looking at coins that have this entry point. And again, Ripple comes to mind, Stellar comes to mind when they try to coordinate with the existing financial system. It's very important to coordinate, because you can't just say, I'm going to come in and disrupt the entire industry, which kind of like Bitcoin tries to do. And again, I'm in the camp that says you have to kind of work hand in hand with these institutions and get some financial backing, because nobody's going to do business with you if you don't have any sort of legitimacy. And so here are the investors, and some of these are actually look very familiar. These are probably the same ones that invested in Ripple. And so if you take a look at it, a lot of them are either VC companies, you've got some sort of banks in there, an extension of some of the Asian banks that are plowing money in. And so in terms of funding, I think they've established very well these relationships with their investors. And that's something to really consider, especially for funding purposes as they begin to scale up. Now, the other one is they're also using the PCI DSS 3.2, which is the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. And that's actually very huge, because when you're dealing with retail space or any sort of companies, they want to make sure that you're following along with the security, that you're not going to have issues with trying to get the payments in from one point to another. The other one is that they actually are working with the Alipay backend side. So a lot of people think that they're going to compete with Alipay or any sort of some of the other digital wallets. And the answer is that Omisego operates on what's called the backend platform. And what they do is that they'll provide the support of the infrastructure for anybody who wants to do it on the front end. And so if you're going on Alipay, for example, and you want to go and buy your, let's say, whatever it is you want to buy online, Omisego will run in the background for that phone or for that mobile device or for that computer. And what's going to do is going to start processing that on the blockchain. And again, that's extremely important, because if you're able to apply a backend support for many of these front end kind of wallets, and you say to Alibaba, hey, you know what, we have something where we can operate on the back end, don't worry about it, we'll handle the security, we'll handle the payment systems, they're going to automatically partner up. The other one is that they recently acquired the largest payment provider in Thailand called PaySby. And again, if you really kind of look at the roadmap and look at where they're heading, they're operating like how a business should operate. It means you're making acquisitions, you're making partnerships, you're establishing security standards, you're working with established companies, you're getting investor backing. This is extremely large, and I think that's the reason why I am very excited for Omisego because of this specific one. And then the newest news that you probably already heard is that they basically had a partnership with McDonald's in Thailand, and McDonald's will be accepting their Omisego payments in over 240 locations in Thailand, and that's just a start. So it's not locked in just to McDonald's. They could potentially expand out to other different fast food restaurants or any sort of other McDonald's in other countries as well. And the other one I want to talk about is that they can operate actually as a backend to some of these more common wallets like Google Wallet and Vimeo. So if, let's say, for example, on the off chance Google says, you know what, we kind of like the whole idea of remittances, and we like the whole idea of tapping into Asia, could Omisego operate with us in conjunction and do a Google Wallet? And I think that's going to be huge, because right now a lot of these wallets are on fiat currencies, and again, there's limitations with using fiat currencies with some of these wallets. And with the cryptocurrencies, then it kind of changes things a little bit and allows you with that flexibility and features that maybe you didn't have with the other wallets. Now I want to talk about the team right here, because not only is this hype, but I know a lot of people are talking about the team that it's all because of Vitalik and Vitalik's backing it up. But in reality, guys, this is not just Vitalik. This is a rock star team that's out there right now, pushing and plowing straight through and getting the PR right and the community connection. So let's start off with Vitalik real quick. Vitalik has been sensational at being out there in front of the camera, getting his name out there, and cooperating with and providing advice to Omisego's board. Well, he's actually one of the advisors, but he's not technically a founder or any of those. And so one of the things he's going to try to do, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of give my own analysis on there, is I'm going to assume that Vitalik is going to try to incorporate some of the new upgrades to Ethereum and plow him right through into Omisego, which obviously it's going to be running on the blockchain anyway. But one of the great things that Vitalik has front and center experience with some of the scalability issues. He's got front and center issues with security. And if any of the recent Ethereum news has shown, is that they can go ahead and fix those and allow Omisego to run. Now, the other one's going to be Gavin Wood. Gavin Wood's another co-founder of Ethereum. And again, he is a founder of Parity and Polkadot, which is another big kind of software programs that we're talking about. So again, with these two guys in there, I mean, pretty much they can run the team. The other one I'll talk about is Vlad Safir. He's part of the Ethereum as well, with part of the Casper project and the research side. And so again, proof of stake is going to be huge, talking about security, consensus by construction protocols. And so with these three dudes in there, I mean, it's almost kind of like they have front and center experience. They have access to all the tech that needs to be done so that Omisego can run. And in my opinion, I think this is kind of like their side project, which they can finally see an application in there. And let's talk about the other two, Julian Zawatowski, which is the founder of Golem. Okay, so Golem, guys, this guy is in there. And as you guys already know, Golem is trying to do this whole idea of processing power. And so if you got the founder of Golem in there thinking about how we can scale it, how we can use it for the desktop, providing that expertise in there, again, this is going to be huge. This development team that they've got going is going to draw a lot of experience from these four individuals. And last but not least, let me mention the other guy, Roger Ver. Now, I know some of you guys are probably hating on Roger Ver because he's a guy who technically forked Bitcoin. But remember that he's one of the first major investors for crypto startups. And Roger Ver is, again, forget about the politics about Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin. He has enough money to pretty much fund this project for almost eternity, considering that he created one of the biggest forks that you can think of, Bitcoin Cash. And if Roger Ver is on it, I'm pretty sure that he can draw more people in, and I'm pretty sure he's not going to want this project to fail. All right, so the bottom line, guys, is this. These are the advisors. These are not the actual team, so they're going to be consulting to the top-end developers, but the fact that they have access to these individuals is huge. I can't even tell you what an advantage this is over some other company that may not have some of these people on their advisory boards. All right, let's talk about the product line here. So again, it's going to be completely on the phone. So you're going to have what's called the e-wallet, and it's going to have the balance. It's going to have the ability to pay via just like any other, Vimeo or Google Wallet or any of those. You can transfer money, you can have loyalty points. And the interesting thing about this is that you're going to have what are called cross-wallet transactions, meaning that you can talk with one wallet to the other, and it's going to be super easy, super fast, so that even grandma can use it. And I remember that Dash was trying to do this, and Dash is still trying to do this in January with their new release product. But what they're trying to do is, if you take a look at this picture here, you go quick pay, you scan the code, you get 50 points. So they're trying to incorporate some sort of incentive system so that you can win prizes and you can get reward points. And again, the reason why they're doing this is because if you think about it, if McDonald's is the only location, they can actually potentially expand out to other retail spaces and allow you to collect rewards and incorporate that into their existing loyalty program. So for example, if you're shopping at Macy's or shopping at Walmart or Target or any of these companies, you can always incorporate what they have existing without having to reinvent the wheel. And so I think this is really smart of them because they're incorporating a point system in, they're incorporating this cross-wallet transactions, and at the same time, it's like a bank. So you pretty much got retail and banking merged into one. And again, think about it for a second, right? When you've got a billion-dollar industry such as retail, plus you've got banking in, you fuse them together, bam, you get a very nice product. All right, let's talk about the catalyst going forward. So now that I've talked about Omisego, let's talk about what can move Omisego's price up. So the tokens are going to be used to pretty much process all the transactions. So the Omisego tokens, and there's actually quite a lot of them. And again, usually you'll find this with that case. But the first catalyst I want to talk about is McDonald's. Although it's already old news and it's already passed, they're just barely starting with McDonald's, and it's one of the few projects that I know of that have already established a relationship with them. Not even, I think 10X or Monaco or any of the other cards that operate under this same system don't really have that. And so the great thing about this one is that fast food, as you already know, expands very, very quickly. And so they're targeting a very small segment of the market that does not have banking, because obviously they're either they could be low income, or they could be people who perhaps maybe cannot afford to buy some of the higher end goods. And so they're targeting a very large population that pretty much goes to fast food. And as you already know, fast food is constantly churning out orders. So they'll get a cut of all that, and then they'll be able to expand their platform. Potentially, they can expand to other fast food expansions. I don't see a reason why McDonald's should be the only one. I think it could be like Jack in the Box or Burger King or Kentucky Fried Chicken, for all you know, or any sort of Thailand fast food joint out there. And then what I really like about this is that they already show the partnership's already established. So all they need here to do is just keep the partnership going and expand to other countries that are interested in the same way as Thailand. And I don't think Thailand's going to be the only one. I think they may even expand to some of the other countries, like for example Cambodia is definitely or Myanmar, I guess we can call it Myanmar, is another option that I can think of. And the moment they start signing on other companies, the price is going to start moving quickly. All right, the other one is called FacePay, and there was a couple of tweets out there and a couple of pictures of them trying to use FacePay on there. There was actually also a leak from Apple iPhone regarding the use of FacePay. And it's where you basically get the phone, you put it in your face, it shows the face, and then you either log in or pay or whatever the case is. But the whole point of using FacePay is that a lot of the smartphone companies, especially the like for example your iPhones and your Samsungs and whatnot, are eventually going to incorporate FacePay in their phones. And so if the technology is already there, it's pretty much very convenient to just kind of partner up with Omisego, especially in Asia where iPhones and Android phones are huge. And it makes it really easy to use, so that you just put your face in there, they take a picture of it, and bam, you don't have to put any ID, any codes, any of that stuff. And so it makes it extremely, extremely convenient. And that fits very well with the model of fast food or any sort of remittances or anything where it's a quick, I need to buy a cup of coffee and I need to get out. The other one is going to be the Bank of Thailand. Now, Thailand was already, this was old news, but one of the great things about this is that they're already trying to establish themselves as a legitimate organization versus trying to be kind of like this rebel against the existing system. And in Asia, if you don't know too much about Asia, is that you normally don't want to challenge the existing status quo. You want to work with them, but you don't want to disrupt them completely because they're going to shut you out quickly. Maybe in the Western countries, a little bit more democratic about that, but specifically in areas like Thailand, where there's a very strong government that has a very long tradition of being kind of like this monarchy type of government, they need to establish legitimacy by partnering up with some sort of large institutions such as the Bank of Thailand. And as we already saw from this picture, you can see them collaborating, you can see them talking, they're working with the regulations, and they're working on how to get the unbanked customers. Now, here's one thing I really want to emphasize. All countries, specifically Western countries and all Eastern countries, really have a vested interest in getting their unbanked customers into the banking system. Now, unless they're doing criminal activities or any sort of illegal activities, which normally they're not going to be unbanked customers anyway, they want them in the system. And the reason is very simple. It's because number one is for security. And the second thing is that they want the money to flow into their economy. And so companies that are able to partner up with the Bank of Thailand, who issues out all the currencies, is a huge one, because now you're not going to run into these problems of regulation and getting shut down. But if you form a very positive relationship, I think it's going to go a lot. And I think these news are going to continue moving forward. These talks are going to continue moving forward because I believe that Vitalik and his team understand the importance of cooperation and not of complete destruction of the entire system that got going. And then the last one, let's take a look at the price action. So despite all of this and despite everything, you might argue that the price has risen up so much that right now it's probably not a good time to buy. Now, I'm going to go ahead and disagree with that a little bit because with every single news event that we've had, it's been a legitimate news. It's not a pump. It is not one where the Bank of Thailand announces and all of a sudden the price goes down. It is a complete great chart to look at because as you can see from here, we've moved up from this consolidation range. We've established this kind of symmetrical triangle. We break off. We establish another consolidation. We break off, consolidation, break off. So it's forming those consolidation levels just exactly how Ethereum did when it first came out. And again, this is really good because it's got institutional support. Whenever you see things like this, that means that you've got strong holders of this company, of this token. And what that really reflects is that if you were to buy right here, the price could potentially keep on increasing. And so there's a lot of potential for price appreciation, especially if Omisego begins to establish itself as a legitimate company. And again, taking a look at the volume, I mean, it's been pretty heavy, it's been pretty steady, it's in an uptrend. There's no point in selling, and there's no point in shorting it. Now, taking a look at the valuation real quick, Omisego is currently at a $1.1 billion market cap. And what I mean by that is that it just barely covered that $1.1 billion. And so every time I see companies cross over that $1 billion mark, we are in the big boy territory. And what that really means is that they've really proven themselves as a coin to really hold for the long term, and a coin that's going to have a massive appeal in the future. So not only do you have community following, but you also have development, you have a team, and you have exactly the partnerships that you need. And easily this coin can move up to a $2 billion market cap projection. Now, in regards to the coin supply cap, it's a 98 million coins, very similar to Ethereum. And again, for these type of coins that operate under the whole use case thesis that I have about having to use cryptocurrency in a real life example, this is actually not very uncommon. But what's interesting about this is that it's actually a proof of stake, and what they do is that they go ahead and reward the holders by processing the transactions, and also they do airdrops. So again, there's a lot of great things about it. It just recently broke my top 20, so it's reaching up to that top 10 mark. And once it gets into the top 10 mark, it's pretty much going to be a long-term hold, in my opinion. Now, in regards to the price appreciation, is it going to double, triple from now on? Who cares? What I do care about is that Omisego reaches that $2 billion market cap, and I believe it can, because in the next couple of years, as it establishes itself as one of the premier use case of cryptocurrencies and it's doing the right things, I think it's going to be a force to reckon with. Now, again, some competitors that may actually end up stalling the whole process, I can't really think of any one of them that has moved up that far right now. But if I were to think of anything specifically, the quickest one I can think of is like 10x, which uses the Visa card, which is a little different, but again, the same idea that you can swipe the card and then you can pay as you go. But it doesn't really have some of the other features that Omisego has, which is like the payroll, the B2B, the backend work with the Alipay system, things like that. The other one's going to be the Monaco card, which is technically not a mobile wallet. Well, it's mobile wallet too, but it's technically under like the Visa network or the MasterCard network, whatever it is they get approved for. And so if you think about it, there really isn't anything out there right now that is kind of doing the exact same thing. Stellar is doing it in Africa, and they're kind of doing it a little differently. But I really like Omisego, and I think it's something to really consider as far as a long-term investment, and it's something that I think if this gains a lot of traction in Asia, can spread into the other countries later on. So I'm watching this one carefully. Hopefully you guys do some research on it. Again, do your homework. This is not a financial advice or any of that, but I just definitely had to put this one up as one of my Cryptobud research picks, and I hope you enjoy it. And let's see what happens with Omisego in the next couple of years. All right, Cryptobud out. Have a great day.